people have started to spend more time on cyberspace. Children and women are especially exposed to the internet. Thus, safeguarding oneself as well as spreading awareness about digital safety and literacy is in the need of the hour. The campaign shall be launched in a multifold manner, where several deliverables like live sessions, informative videos, flyers, surveys, polls, and a bunch of interesting competitions like poster making, article writing, and video making will be conducted. We appreciate you taking time off your busy schedules to join us today. We hope you will find the program we have lined up for you to be fruitful and engaging. Today, we have a few eminent dignitaries with us to launch the Cyber Vakil campaign of the Cyber Jagrati Foundation. Before we hear from them, I would like to heartfully thank all our partners for helping us kickstart this insightful campaign. Now, I would like to begin the program by requesting our special singer to sing the Saraswati Vandanam for us today.
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवलागा या शुभ्रवस्त्रान्विता या नवीना वरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेता पद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युत शङ्कर प्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा पूजिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापः निःशेषजाड्यापः.
Thank you so much for the beautiful song. It is really very nice to start the day with such a nice song. Now, we have our very own Rupesh Mittal, the founder of Cyber Jagrati Foundation. He's here to give us a warm welcome for today's program. Rupesh, you're not audible.
I'm audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Firstly, very warm welcome to all the dignitaries here present, Dr. Balakisa Reddy sir, Dhanya madam ma'am, and Jay Shinjan sir, who is going to join us shortly, for spending this early morning, Thursday morning with us, and successfully helping us in launching this Cyber Vakil campaign, which is a 1 month campaign spreading across on various issues that are happening on internet. Not only about the role that the crime cases that are happening, but also usage of digital devices. Now we use mobile phones in because of lockdown and various other reasons. We are using our mobile phones and all a lot. So from morning to evening, we have a digital gadget. We have now. I am also personally using four in front of me. So it causes a lot of radiation. It affects a lot on your health, and a lot of things happen. And also on online, we are able to see a lot of crimes and all. And I'm very glad to share today that yesterday, Cyber Jagrati has completed 20,000 subscribers on, or 20,000 enrollments on its online course that is on Udemy. So we have successfully completed yesterday 20,000 successful enrollments in it. And in this campaign also, we are having a plan to reach to at least minimum of 10,000 users across India. And coming to the statistics of the Udemy course, 20,000 people, it's in more than 23 countries our course is running, and around more than 53% are from India. So 10,000 plus crowd is from India, and the remaining crowd is from different 23 plus countries, and which they speak at around 33 different languages. So it's my pleasure to invite our chief guest for today's session, Sri Jayesh Ranjan sir, to kindly give the welcome address. Jayesh sir, are you have this just joined?
Mr. Jayesh Ranjan Garu is a member of the Indian Administrative Services of the 1992 batch and working in the state of Telangana. He holds a master degree in psychology from Delhi University, a degree in business management from the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta, and a master's in public management from the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, National University of Singapore. He is the All India topper of his IAS batch of 1992. Jayesh Ranjan Garu is the Principal Secretary of the Industries and Commerce and Information Technology Departments of the Telangana government. His assignment involves developing policy frameworks, attracting new investments, identifying opportunities of utilizing IT in various government processes, and promoting digital empowerment of the citizens. Sir also supports many social, cultural, and charitable causes in and around Telangana. I request you to take over, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And very good morning to everyone. My apologies for joining late due to some other commitment. But nevertheless, I'm very happy that I have been able to participate in the inaugural ceremony of this.
Sir, you're not audible.
I think sir has lost the connection.
I think we'll just wait for a minute.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes, sir has joined back. Sir, we are unable to hear you, sir. We can see you, but can't listen to you, sir.
Sir, you're not audible, sir.
Yeah, Aditi, sir is having some issue. Sir will be joining back in just 5 minutes. So I would request you to please continue with the other speakers, because it's not good to keep them waited. So can you please continue with the
Yes,
Bal-
yes.
Dr. Sir.
I would now like to welcome our guest keynote speaker. We are extremely honored to welcome Dr. V. Balakrishna Reddy Garu, the Register at Nalsa University, Hyderabad, who will be talking about new and emerging technologies, a focus on cyber security laws. Dr. V. Balakrishna Reddy Garu, Professor of International Law, Coordinator MK SARC Law Center and Head Center for Air and Space Law, Nalsar University of Law, Hyderabad. Dr. Reddy obtained his LLM in International Law from Osmania University and MPhil and PhD in International Air and Space Law from Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU, Delhi. He has more than 12 years of teaching and research experience. A prolific writer, Dr. Reddy has contributed extensively to various national and international journals on different facets of international law. Dr. Reddy is a visiting faculty to various universities in India and abroad. Being supervising of MPhil and PhD students, Dr. Reddy teaches LLB and LLM courses at Nalsar, which include international law, international economic and trade law, international intellectual property law, globalization and human rights, international environment law, global insurance regulations, international humanitarian and refugee laws. Sir, we're very happy to have you today. Please take over.
Okay. Thank you, Aditi. Thank you, everyone. Respected Jayesh Ranjanji, Dr. Rupa, Dania Menon, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first congratulate the organizers for taking this kind of initiative. So awareness is always good, and particularly cyber awareness is very much need of the hour. So with this, yes, I'll speak a few minutes about the law and technology, including cyber law, cyber technology. So the linkage between the connection between the nexus between the law and technology is always uneasy. Law follows technology. Technological developments needs law. Today, cyber technology is developing. Is it that cyber law is catching up those developments is the question. So not. So technology is moving faster than law. So that's where the society is confronting with the problems, because technology is going, law is not catching up. This gap we have to fill all. So with this, of course, there are technology law or techno-driven laws. If you look at law, there are certain laws which completely depend on the technology. For example, air law. The invention of aircraft by Wright brothers in 1903 culminated to come out with the regulations. Similarly, space technology. Space technology also again happened in 1957. Though people were imagining space technology for centuries, but it became reality on 4th October 1957 with the successful launch of Sputnik. So after that, so many developments happened. You all know that today, because of space technology, we are all here. That's what I can say. Satellite technology. So technology, IP technology, cyber technology, all these things, technology driven raw technology. Only problem what happening is that technology moving, law is not catching. For example, yesterday, if you look at space, I was referring space technology. Last 60 years, so much development happened in the space technology, but space law is a gap. Take India. Actually, India is doing extreme well in the technology, space technology. We are fifth among the all spacefaring nations and first among the developing countries. But do we have a space law? How are we going to regulate space-related acts? So as long as technology is confined to scientific era, no problem. But these technologies are now moving to the business phase or commercial phase. That is where the law requires. And if somebody is interested, last 25 years, I was, trying to come out with the space legislation. I was urging the government of India, because space commercialization is happening, space business is growing, $1 billion business. India is also one of the space faring nations. So, but unfortunately, friends, we do not have space law. So yesterday, one of my interview came in Times of India, the need for space law. So like just I'm giving an example, but law is lag behind any law, whether it is IP law or cyber law, information related. So my point is that we need to have a law. So I was trying, and today Government of India accepted, and space bill is pending, and it's going to come up. This is the gap, huge gap between the technology and law. Of course, are we talking about cyber space or cyber technology today in the 20th century or 21st century? No, technology was there, is going to be there, forever. So ancient times also technology was there. Improvements happened in the medieval and modern technology. Particularly, if you look at, we have 4 industrial revolutions happened. First industrial revolution in the 18th century led mass production. Then second industrial revolution, that electricity, invention of electricity. Third industrial revolution or digital revolution. Fourth industrial revolution, present what we are, knowledge revolution. Today we are living in a knowledge revolution. Knowledge is important. So this knowledge has to be regulated. So fourth industrial revolution, also called new and emerging technologies. In the fourth industrial revolution, we are having a new and emerging technology. I always call A to Z technology. What do you mean by A to Z technology? Start from artificial intelligence, automation, big data, blockchain technology, cyber, computer, cloud, Internet of Things, and so many. So all these technologies are, having a lot of impact on the society, both positive and negative. Of course, positive, we all know that today, because of technology, we all, meeting and discussing. But there are negatives also. That is what we have to look at, legal issues. When I say, other side of the technology is that lot of legal issues are coming up, including the cyber use of cyberspace. When I say legal issues, there are certain existing legal issues which is posing problem. These technologies are posing problem. For example, when I say traditional legal issues like state jurisdiction, state responsibility, state liability, how are we going to fix state jurisdiction? Because we are talking about cyber technology which is having a borderless. Somebody is sitting here and doing activity which is hampering other states. Or do we have adequate regulations to regulate this kind of technology is a big question. Of course, no, we do not have. That is where I was talking about technology law, gap between technology and law. So traditional issues like jurisdiction, responsibility, these are questions. Today, this technology is posing question that existing, principles, whether it is international law or domestic law, are not able to regulate. This is one gap. Of course, modern issues, when I say modern technology issues, like we have data protection, evidence, creative writing, IP issues, all these are going to pose a big problem. So this technology also going to generate a lot of litigation. So this kind of environment, I think the Cyber Jagrati, Cyber Vakil initiative is very much important. First of all, we should create awareness and then we can go for regulation. So here I would request the organizers a very beautiful program. Next 1 month they said all things, but I will have some points. We are going to have a month-long program. What I suggest you that what you should focus. One should is you look at what is the existing legal regime. Okay, how the existing legal regime. When I say that we have an international legal regime, domestic legal regime. So international legal regime. What are the international treaties we have in cyber? What are the international treaties we have in other technologies? So that is what you have to look. Then you look at for Indian context or domestic context. What is the law? Of course, we have Haiti law, other related. But is it this law is adequate to regulate the existing problems posed by cyber related or other new and emerging technology is a question. Then second question is that when I say issues, mainly we should focus on the issues like privacy, security, IP issues, jurisdiction, taxation. These are the issues which are emerging. So one has to look at these issues. So international law, cyber technology, you are going to talk next 1 month. Friends, unfortunately, we have not have a binding international treaty on cyber. Though we have a regional regulatory mechanism, we have a soft law. Soft law means non-binding. United Nations General Assembly resolution, all those things. So one lacuna, what I feel is that a binding comprehensive international treaty is lacking in this cyber domain, cyber security. That is one important issue we can ponder out. Then domestic legal framework. What kind of cases we are courts are getting, and what kind of jurisprudence the Indian judiciary is developing. These are the issues we have to look. And last point, I would like to see that what is the legal recourse? Technology we are using, cyber squatting, cyber related crimes are happening, but where to go, whom to approach, what is the legal recourse? Do we have these things? This is the point we all have to remember, that no, technology is creating problem. Technology is misusing, we are misusing technology, or somebody is misusing. So what is the legal recourse? This is, most of us, we do not have broad idea that if something goes wrong, whom to approach, where to go, what kind of law will applicable, is it civil law, criminal law? So these are the issues I think you have to ponder, or you have to discuss. And I once again I congratulate the organizers for this kind of awareness program, or legal awareness program. So thank you once again for giving me this opportunity just to share few thoughts which are, I think, relevant for next 1 month discussion. Thank you, friends.
Insightful presentation indeed. Your thoughts are going to stay with all of us. And I'll just go back. Sorry, sir, we've lost your connection. So we would like Jayesh Ranjan sir to continue.
Aditi, please go with Dhanya madam.
Okay. Dhanya ma'am. Now I would like to welcome Dr. Dhanya Menon, who will be talking to us about the challenges in cybercrime investigation. Dr. Dhanya Menon is currently serving as the director of Avanzo Cyber Security Solutions Private Limited. She was regarded as India's first woman cybercrime investigator, the inspirational cybercrime investigator. Dhanya ma'am completed her diploma in cybercrime from Asian Law School of Cyber Law located at Pune. Her bachelor's degree is computing from British Columbia University, Canada, did help her a lot in studying the cybercrime. While doing her diploma, she conducted workshops on cybercrime awareness for different institutions, including schools, colleges, and also for the police force of different states of India. Dhanya ma'am was a full-time cybercrime investigator, having completed her postgraduate diploma in cybercrime from ICFI and a cybercrime investigation course from Asian School of Cyber Laws. Her far-fetched dream to become a super sleuth has turned true. She was selected as an associate of the cybercrime investigation team of the Indian government that was involved in cracking high-profile cases. Dhanya Menon is one of the most talented and trained Kuchipudi dancers, another insatiable passion for her. Now, we welcome you, Dhanya ma'am. Ma'am? Dhanya ma'am, you're not audible.
Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you for the. Thank you very much for the introduction. Well, the challenges in cybercrimes, basically, I'm just getting to the point, straight to the point, and avoiding all the nitty-gritties of prelims, because I know you're all running short of time, and a lot of technical snag also happening. So basically, the challenges that I have faced while working in this particular field for last 15 years are that, initially it is awareness, always the awareness. Not initially, always it is the awareness. We are constantly fighting the know-how in this particular new technology. Earlier, nobody knew what cybercrimes were actually. So people didn't know whether they were victims or even being part of certain criminal activity or not. because they didn't know what this space was all about. All of us started using it. We all got addicted to this particular technology, but we forgot, or we never learned the other side of the technology or the coin. So this was one issue which was happening from the day one, for me at least, in this industry. Then came the awareness or the information, or probably the technical know-how on the part of the legal system, where, I mean, the police force, the awareness, their knowledge. It was really sad in the initial days when you would go and do a training for the police force, and another 3 months time you'll find the same people standing in the traffic. So there had to be a change in the system where they decided that, you know, the people trained in this particular technology will be allowed to work on this particular technology and not be infrastructure totally. Then there were challenges in the legal framework as in the judiciary, because basically there are a lot of distraction and background. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. Sorry. So I was just distracted with a lot of background noise. I'm sorry. Yeah. So what I was saying is that there needed to be an education or a particular training system in the judiciary also, as to how to look at the evidence. What is the kind of evidence? Like, there is one thing where we went with a case in the court once where we said a particular data is stolen. One organization claimed that their particular data is stolen, but the judiciary actually asked us the question, how can you say it is stolen when you still have it? You have it in your system. Because only a copy was taken away. So we couldn't prove the actual sense of theft, where the physical possession of the data was transferred from one person to the other, but and the owner of the data was not able to use this particular data. So it all started from training the general public, the law enforcement authorities, the judiciary. Currently, so now there is a lot of awareness among the public as to what are the cyber crimes, and if there is a problem, what to do about it. Like, you know, they know how, at least a percentage of people know how to go about reporting. Currently, the issue is there is a lot of problem because of the time delay. By the time if I'm a victim of a cybercrime, by the time I realize I'm being victimized, there is a time that is gone by. Then I decide, contemplate, talk to my people, decide that I have to go and file a complaint. Then I go to the police station to file a complaint, because it's a huge decision and there is a time gap between everything where you where the person finally understands that they have been penalized or they have been victimized, and from that point for them to move on and give a complaint. Then the complaint goes to the police station or to the law and legal system. The law takes another little time to understand what has happened, and then the investigation also takes a little bit of time, wherein, you know, again the evidentiary value of technical evidence reduces drastically. Then we wait for certain what do you call certain authorizations from people or service providers who are not located in India, which takes time again, because there is a lot of communication gap which happens. That is another issue wherein, you know, we have a language barrier between the other countries and us, the countries that host most of the services, and the users as an Indian. So a layman goes with a complaint which is written saying that, and the most common word used is hacking, basically, which most probably 99% of the cases it is not hacking that has happened. So the complaint goes as in, my account is hacked. The police station, the police people are probably, they understand it is not hacking. So with the attachment of the complaint, they file an FIR, they ask for certain acknowledgements from the service providers who are abroad, who say that this particular transaction that you're talking about is not illegal in our legal framework, which may be another nation. So the challenges are awareness, knowledge, the time gap that happens between reporting the crime or understanding the crime also, which reduces the evidentiary value. Then the communication gap between the nations because of jurisdictional issues. So these are the major challenges that I have found when you talk about investigations. Now, when you talk about imparting justice in totality, another challenge is the part of the on the part of the judiciary, because there's a lot of time lag between, Indian judicial system, if you know, we are listening to the verdicts of cases which has happened about 20, 25 years back, and the parties in question are not even alive. And when you're talking about a cybercrime, it is always a criminal offense. So the deliverance of justice system should be a little more faster, so that people can get back to the sense of normalcy. There is nothing called actually getting back to normalcy, if you ask me. Emotionally, I have not seen anybody from the cases that I have handled get back to normalcy emotionally at all. Financially, yes, it may be possible for some of us at least to get back on our feet and start working and then manage all the losses. But emotionally, mentally, I have not seen anybody get back to normalcy at all till date. So these are the things that I have faced during the course of my profession for the last 16 years. The solutions are, far from being close to any kind of remedies coming into us. I don't know. I really have no answer to all those things, but I definitely feel as part of the society, guardians of the society, we are responsible to give a safer space for our next generation to live in. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for calling me on. We can't hear you, Aditi. I think you'll have to unmute yourself.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for some insightful thoughts about the law and the challenges you have faced. It will really help us in the future. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes. Just a second. Now, I would request Jayesh Ranjan Garu to take over, and we're extremely sorry for the technical glitches, sir. We'll be very happy to take over now.
Thank you very much, and my apologies once again. First of all, I showed up late, and then there were some challenges in setting up the audio of the system. But nevertheless, I'm very happy to finally get this chance. First of all, my congratulations to the Cyber Jagriti Foundation for initiating this month-long awareness program on cyber laws, the Cyber Vakil campaign. So very glad that you are doing this. And this is something which is very timely also. In fact, if we look at what are some of the important trends that are going to rule the world in the post-pandemic scenario, one trend about which there is more or less 100% unanimity is that the new world order will be driven by digital. In fact, I'm a part of many other conversations also in which businesses, sectors of economy, entrepreneurs, startups, small companies, SMEs, practically everyone is talking about how can he utilize digital to get back to a sense of normalcy, see a revival in his activities, and so on and so forth. And already we have seen in many sectors that digital possibilities are indeed making a very important difference. And it is only a matter of time before digital footprint of every sphere, in every sphere of life, increases tremendously. But we have seen for the past so many years, for the past decade or so, that when the digitalization, when digital footprints increase, there is a darker side to it also, which is in the form of cyber crimes. And many times, they range from very, very innocuous kind of things to something very serious also. In fact, under the IT Act, all of you will know this, that I also adjudicate cases. The IT secretaries in the state have quasi judicial powers under the IT Act, and I have adjudicated a few cases. And of course, I don't want to share the details of the cases here, but of course, some cases are extremely serious in nature. Huge, they have huge adverse consequences. They have huge ramifications, and so on and so forth. Then, of course, there are some very innocuous things, and like some tampering in your bank account or hacking your password, and so on and so forth. So right now, when the trend shows that lots of new users or first-time users will also be going digital in their activities, we also must be very, very clear that what kind of challenges and what kind of threats exist. How do you ensure that, first of all, we prevent as much of these crimes as possible by having access to right kind of cyber security tools, and awareness on how to be digitally savvy, digitally smart. But despite that, we all know that historically, criminals are a few steps ahead of the law enforcement agencies, and law enforcement agencies typically play catch up. So if that is the scenario, despite best precautions, despite awareness, some crimes are bound to happen. So the solution therefore is that what are the remedies available? First of all, how to undo that crime, how to redress that crime, and how to ensure justice in that case. So as other panelists also spoke, the ability to, first of all, take legal action or apply for legal remedies, that is very important. I already mentioned that IT Act has provisions of taking care of cyber crimes, but there is an overlap between IT Act and IPC. I know that you can also file cases under the IPC, and this is something which kind of presents a gray area. Should I go to and should I take recourse under the IT Act? Should I file cases under the IPC sections, and so on and so forth? So, of course, my personal impression is that many more times more cases are filed under the IPC, and the police wing also has set up cybercrime specialized teams, investigation teams, case teams, etc. So the ability to redress those kind of crimes is much more under the IPC. But IT Act is also, I won't say that it is a imperfect act or it is a toothless act, because at least the cases that I have gone through and I have adjudicated, the judgments that I have pronounced have been received quite well. In fact, one of the judgments pertaining to a bank related matter, a banking fraud, is actually quoted also in other cases, in other judgments. So there is some there is some merit in looking at opportunities under the IT Act also. But regardless of what act do you utilize, are you first of all aware about those acts or not? And secondly, is there an easy way? For example, other panelists spoke, in a normal case, you just have to walk to a police station, you lodge an FIR, and then the police takes over, they investigate, and then when the matter goes to the court, you get the services of a public prosecutor, and so on and so forth. But here, the things are not exactly so well laid out. How do you first of all decide whether this will come under a cyber crime? Who guides you? Who helps you? And obviously, in some of these cases, there is lots of sensitivity involved. There are issues of cyber stalking, where there are privacy issues involved. The families are very sensitive about the circumstances of the case, and so on and so forth. So, how do you ensure that proper counseling, proper guidance, proper legal backing is provided to victims or the family members of the victims, etc. So there are many areas where not only do we have to just create awareness, but we also have to help the institutions in setting up systems. My personal feeling is that the systems have still not evolved to a level of maturity that we see in, let us say, United States or the UK or some of the other advanced countries. So there is a lot of work to do. And in my opinion, the lack of having these kind of institutions, systems, trained personnel, manpower, these tomorrow will become a bottleneck in the race towards digitalization. In fact, already, as many of us know, during the lockdown period, government wanted to encourage digital payments. Government wanted to do more and more digital payments because obviously touching the currency, passing it on, receiving, there is a risk of not being sanitized properly. There's sensitivity about the spread of virus, all that is there. And in those circumstances, the digital payment options were highlighted. As a government, we also publicized digital payment options. But while we were doing all that, while we were running digital payment campaigns, etc., literally every day we would come across news of some fraud. Like the most common fraud was, I think Paytm was affected quite a lot. And this KYC fraud, like someone will call you telling that I'm from Paytm, I need to know your details, then only I'll be able to authorize you. And innocuously, I will take general details, name and father's name and all that. And I will also slip in password. So innocuously, I'll get your password also, and then I will scam you. So of course, these are crimes which typically people who are first-time users, who are not very well educated, they face these circumstances. But nevertheless, the possibility of doing something very serious, very heinous, and creating enormous amount of damage to this means is also there. And awareness, creating systems, ensuring that the response time is very, very less. The previous panelists spoke about the long time which it takes to resolve some of these cases. These things can also be a deterrent. So, as I said in the very beginning, this is a very timely initiative. These things will supplement the push towards digitalization, the push towards a new generation of users coming on the digital bandwagon. If there is a great sense of confidence that laws are strong, ability to enforce those laws are strong, support system is available, and for some unfortunate reasons, if you fall victim, things can be rectified, the needs of justice can be met. So once again, very grateful that Cyber Jagriti Foundation is running this campaign. Please do it very, very sincerely. As was mentioned, look at the language barriers, do it in vernacular, have a proper spread, target not just urban consumers, but also rural consumers, use the existing operators to spread the word. And I'll be very happy on behalf of Telangana government to partner with you, to support you, to take this message forward. And so once again, very, very many congratulations and good wishes to all of you. Thank you very much.
Aditi, you're in mute.
Thank you so much, sir. It is a very precise and a relevant presentation. Thank you so much for sharing with us, sir. Now, I would like to welcome our next guest speaker, D. Rupa ma'am, who was supposed to talk about the initiatives the Karnataka government for the cybercrime awareness. Dr. Rupa was born in Devanagiri. Rohin was also an NCC cadet and has authored many articles in prominent national dailies. She completed her graduation from Kuvempu University, Karnataka, with a gold medal and a post-graduation MA in psychology from the Bangalore University. Rupa ma'am is well-versed with Hindustani classical music and a trained Bharatanatyam dancer. She has also been awarded the President's Police Medal twice in 2016 and 2017. Due to a COVID emergency, we regret to inform that Rupa ma'am would not be able to join us today in the ceremony, but she has sent her best wishes and warm greetings on the launch of our flagship event, Cyber Vakil. Before we move on to the vote of thanks, I would heartfully request Mr. Jayesh Ranjan Garu to launch the Cyber Vakil song, followed by the Cyber Vakil website. Sir, now I welcome you to launch the song.
Delighted to launch the song for the Cyber Vakil campaign. Please go ahead and play it for us.
Thank you, sir.
सुनिएगा ना काम आएगा, डिटेल शेयर करके क्या पाएगा, पिन शेयर करके क्या पाएगा, पैसा पूरा खो जाएगा। सुनिएगा ना काम आएगा, डिटेल शेयर करके क्या पाएगा, अरे रे यार फेक नॉट, अरे रे यार फेक नॉट, जो भी होगा होने दे, अरे रे यार फेक नॉट, एंटीवायरस इंस्टॉल करके हर बार आप अपडेट कर लो, डेटा बैकअप करके 2 फैक्टर सेफ्टी तुम रख लो, शोना बाबू कम करके पासवर्ड को स्ट्रॉन्ग तुम कर लो, मालवेयर से बचना हो तो ईमेल देख के खोलो, प्राइवेसी ऑन करके हेटर्स को ब्लॉक कर दे, जैकपॉट मेल्स को ओपन करके बैंक डिटेल्स उस पे ना दे, सेविंग्स करके जो भी तू बचाएगा जैकपॉट साइट पर सारा खो जाएगा, सुनिएगा ना काम आएगा, ना कर शॉपिंग जिस पे सेफ्टी ना मिल पाएगा, न्यूड पिक शेयर करके क्या पाएगा, अपनों को शर्मिंदा करवाएगा, वीडियो कॉल करेगा तू रिकॉर्डिंग पॉन साइट पर देख पछताएगा, अरे रे यार फेक नॉट, अरे रे यार फेक नॉट, जो भी होगा होने दे, होने दे, होने दे, साइबर जागृति हम तुम्हारे साथ हैं, चाहे जैसे भी होंगे हालात हैं, डरने की क्या बात है जब हम तुम्हारे साथ हैं, जब हम तुम्हारे साथ हैं, अरे रे यार फेक नॉट, अरे रे यार फेक नॉट, जो भी होगा होने दे, अरे रे यार फेक नॉट,
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes. I would like to conclude the program. Just a second. Yeah, I would just like to conclude the program with a vote of thanks. It's an honor for me to express my gratitude to everyone present here for the inaugural ceremony of the Cyber Heal campaign. It is my privilege to have been asked to propose the vote of thanks on the occasion of the conference event. I, on behalf of Cyber Jagriti Foundation and the entire fraternity of the team, extend very hearty gratitude to all the speakers for gracing your presence and sharing with us your opinion today. We have been fortunate to have the most eminent persons from their industry, the academic industry and the utility work area of cyber crimes and laws. Jayesh Ranjan Garu, Dr. Balakishna Reddy Garu, Rupa ma'am and Danya Menon ma'am, thank you for taking out time of your busy schedules and gracing our inaugural ceremony with your presence. I'm sure that all the participants present here today have been really inspired a lot from your kind words. I am very much thankful to the entire partners of this campaign. Without their generous support, it wouldn't be possible to organize this campaign. I would specifically like to thank the Telangana government, the Department of State, US, Reset Hacker, Information Security Education and Awareness, Stay Safe Online, Cyber Hacks, DEFCON, Stop, Think and Connect, Find My co-founders, Indian Society of Artificial Intelligence Law, Community, Rubaru, Prava, Mimiso, Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights and Labor, US Department of the State. Thank you so much. I'm sure that this conference will continue to get generous support from the different organizations in the future. I take this opportunity to thank the entire technical committee of the team of Cyber Jagriti Foundation. Last but not the least, I would extend my heartfelt gratitude to Rupesh Mittal, the founder of the Cyber Jagriti Foundation. Sir, this campaign would not be possible without your support. I would like to conclude by thanking each one of you who were present today. We hope to see you all participating in the upcoming events all through the campaign. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. We had little technical glitches today. but we'll make sure that in future events you do not suffer any of those. Thank you so much, sir. Due to COVID, we had only a lyrical video, but post the COVID, once things get fine, we will come up with a full-fledged video soon, sir. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day and enjoy. Today evening, we are having a campaign by many influencers on that. So just please visit our website. Make sure that you are registered. It's cybervakil.cyberjagrati.com. Thank you once again. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much, sir.